Trisha. Is it Trisha? Okay.
Yeah,
Or
so
Trish, not Patricia.
Okay, I will never have you.
Okay.
and yeah, it looks like the last one that I shared over was at 4:43. That was the updated one.
Yep.
So
We got it in our
here we go.
Yeah.
I'll rock and roll and we'll be quick here. So
Hey.
we go to slide number 2. So expectations. This is just broad expectations based on what we all communicated, was communicated over multiple council sessions, and then obviously through multiple different departments in City of Bremerton. And so we kind of surmised it as serving as a hub for the wheel of city stakeholders. And that's really city team, meaning city employees and city departments, but really other outreach service providers that are in the city and also in the county. So that leads us to bullet point number 2 here, the outreach and engagement portion. Obviously, the expectation is that we're going to be doing outreach and providing service opportunities and trying to get folks to take a next best step in a positive direction. So that way they're just not being shuffled around like chairs on the Titanic, but actually trying to take a next step into a better position. So been working with partners in the area where we have a whole slide designated to that. So I'm going to move on to the next here. In addition to the expectation, what we've been doing is site monitoring and maintenance. So this has come through with a whole slew of site visits and monitoring multiple days, as Captain Elton was saying earlier, that we're out there per week, and a whole slew of site visits that we've conducted to make sure that once things are clear, once things are clean, that they don't repopulate. And when they do repopulate, we can catch them quickly and respond rapidly to those repopulations. It was expectation that we worked with code enforcement, not as code enforcement, but in tandem with, on certain issues that have developed that kind of overlap between homelessness response and code enforcement issues, and kind of those gray areas. And that kind of feeds into the private property owners, kind of providing some advisory or some help to some of the private property owners that are really experiencing some of the challenges of homeless encampments and just kind of the different pockets and populations and areas of the city. And so we've been working through that, obviously working closely with police department as well, in addition to the outreach service providers in the area, and the navigation team obviously included in that. Making sure we have a lens on public works and all of the different responses that public works catalyzes. So when there is an issue, there are cleanups that need to be done. We can work quickly with them. And I will say a special little shout out to, there's multiple people to shout out, which we won't do because I know we got a lot of business, but Chris Smith has been incredible. I mean, he is all over the city. he is all over the city, and he is Johnny on the spot, and he is quick to report things and quick to fill things once we communicate him both ways of communication. So everyone's great, but he exceptionally stands out just because he's everywhere. And then tracking and documentation, what are we actually doing and how are we tracking that? What information are we tracking? What information are we then moving on and sharing? So if we go to the next one, I'm going to kind of pause and toss it Trisha's way, because this has been the majority of her heavy lift here is connecting with all the different folks and in terms of partnerships. But there's a list of 15. We probably could have thought through and added a few more. But this is 15 that we've had meaningful connections with. So Trish, I'll be quiet and let you highlight a few of those. And obviously we'll have questions at the end to talk more about those.
So as you can see on the partnership list, we've been able to, these are people that I've actually communicated with, or people from our team have communicated with, but in person, 2 of them have been on the phone, but in person multiple times, more than once, and been able to coordinate and collaborate services together. And so a couple of the ones I would like to call out is the Salvation Army has been absolutely phenomenal. They have risen to the occasion. They played nice in the sandbox with us when maybe others weren't ready to quite yet, and they actually helped others get on board with that. They've been really a great partner and have created a great partnership. And so that's been very successful for us, especially because a lot of the activity down there is on MLK, as we know. But Eric and his entire staff, they've been incredible. Also, KCR, Kitsap Community Resources, I had a meeting with them, and as a result of that meeting, they have been able to provide someone for me to come on outreach and start doing coordinated entry in the community, which is huge, because for our folks that are experiencing homelessness, getting to the Housing Solutions Center is not always an option. People either don't smell good, they're tired, they're under the influence. they don't walk well, whatever the case is, they don't want to leave their stuff. So getting them to come out with us has been phenomenal. And we've been able to accomplish a lot of ground and cover a lot of ground and reach a lot of people with that. I heard some rumblings about Bay Vista Boulevard as I walked in the room here today. KCR was out with me for several hours yesterday on Bay Vista Boulevard. And so we have been able to have that partnership with them. And that's been, like I said, there's no words to describe how impactful that can be. I do feel like maybe their system could be a little overwhelmed with how many people we're adding to coordinated entry at this point, but that's the real number. That's realistic. And so it's been nice to see. And then there's also been a few days that they've been at Salvation Army, connecting with Salvation Army and doing coordinated entry there at Salvation Army. So I think that that's been great. So that's awesome. And Rock the Block, specifically Kelsey and Don Michelle, have been absolutely excellent with coordinating and collaborating. And we've been able to have some successes together. I said this at the first council meeting, and I'll say it the day I die. There's not one single situation I can tell you about that it was me. It's always us. It's always a team. It always takes all the resources because we can build really cool houses together, but individually, not so much. And so those specific partnerships have been really incredible. So all of the people on the list, we've developed a great partnership and working relationship with, and I think that's really important to recognize.
Absolutely. And like I said, we'll be able to talk more about that if folks want to talk about the partnerships and the extent of those. I think on slide 4 here, we have just a simple dashboard to kind of sum up a lot of the activities. Of course, we could have added many other metrics and data. We're happy to provide that as well. I think that we have something in the works for kind of a monthly meeting within interdepartmental city, and then also providing something on a quarterly basis. So that'll be to come here. But number of site visits. So this is just since January 22nd. Number of site visits, 447. These are unique visits to different areas, responding or monitoring to make sure sites don't repopulate. It's a substantial amount of visits, especially in the time frame of 3 months. So meaningful connections, 151. And what we count as a meaningful connection is something more than just, hey, I talked to somebody and they said, no, don't worry, I'm not interested, I'll move on. Well, that we don't count that as a meaningful connection. But a meaningful connection is connecting with people, getting some sort of information, trying to determine a next step, making sure that we work through some of the needs assessments. Maybe there's a follow-up appointment. Maybe they want to get linked up with services. So that's a meaningful connection. 51 individuals connected to services, and that could be any service that is, Tricia can tell you outside of shelter or housing, that's what we're counting as connected to services, and she can run through a short list of those when I pause here. 16 connected to shelter or housing, which is a remarkable number. One person would be remarkable to take that step and get housed and stop taking shelter outside, but 16 is great. And then individuals currently working a plan, that will fluctuate. So that's in addition to all of the things that are happening. These 23 represented in the individuals working a plan could be already counted and connecting to services, or they could be housed, but they're working on something in addition to that. So Trish, do you have any more clarity around those 3 numbers?
Some of the biggest services that we've been connecting people to is going to be mental health, medical. We've had several connections to people who have legal issues going on. So going and advocating with court, getting people's warrants quashed, getting people into the help that they're supposed to get for the court that they've already attended. Medical services is big. A lot of times to get into inpatient treatment for substance use, you have to have medical clearance. If you have open wounds or abscesses, they won't take you. So being proactive about that and getting those things addressed. We've partnered a lot with Peninsula Community Health, getting those things done for people so that they qualify and meet criteria to go in for treatment. So those are some of the bigger services. We've also been able to connect quite a few people to crisis services. We've utilized resources that we know about throughout the state, actually, not just here in Kitsap County, but throughout the state to be able to provide people with services that they pretty desperately need and maybe haven't been able to utilize or access for some reason or another. We've had some real good success with that.
So with that, I know that there's a lot always to talk through in these meetings, so we'll just pause for questions.
All right, thank you so much for being here. Counselors, Jane, and then Denise. Oh wait, you know what? Let me defer to Denise first, and then to Jane. Yeah.
I'd like to hear more about the definition of major encampment. So when you said we haven't had to clear any major encampments, what's the tipping point with that?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that on my way in, and one person could constitute an encampment if they're living in a place and kind of set up a place that they're there for a long period of time. So that could be really an encampment. But major encampments, like what we were dealing with when we did the cleanup down on MLK, like where you have whole city sidewalk for a block that were occupied and kind of covered, and we haven't really experienced that. And so that's what I'm saying. I think that's a success that you're not having to deal with, areas that repopulated like MLK. It's a source of a lot of complaints that we get at the city of Bremerton, at the city level, that we hear about through citizens or even through employees who go public works, streets, police. But you can't. I think people can confuse what looks like encampment activity, which is people kind of glom together, kind of hanging out on the sidewalks. It's not at night when they're in the shelter. It's maybe between the times of serving breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but they're there. They're right there. But I think the reason why that looks like encampment activity, or people classify it as an encampment as being established again, is because that's where the resources are. They don't really go far from that because that's where they get food and shelter. But as far as big, established, entrenched, growing encampments, we're just not seeing it since we dealt with those.
And I know that the chief had certainly talked in public safety about when we were rolling this out that you were going to show a lot of discretion. You're going to use a lot of discretion. So I would imagine that is just going to be ongoing, that there's not a cutoff for discretion, where, okay, it's been 90 days.
Yeah, no, and some people might think when I say to date, no one's been arrested for the ordinance of violating the unlawful camping ordinance. Some people might say, well, what are you waiting for? Others might say, and I've heard it around the office, we say it quite a bit. We have this same communication often. This is a marathon, not a sprint. We don't go down there with Common Streets when they're doing outreach because we don't want to stop the progress that they're making down there. We don't send our police officers down there on purpose with Common Streets so they can do this outreach and try to connect people to services. There was one day, and I'll be honest, that I dressed in street clothes and I went out with 3 of them and kind of stood to the back.
You just can't help.
I let the pros do their job. And when you talk about meaning, when he gave the definition of meaningful connections, I got to sit there and watch that. So these are people that are actively involved in a plan, but they're still here in Bremerton and they're not housed. But we're not out there going to the place where they're camping and enforcing it because they're on a plan with them. And I got to see it myself. Their approach is great. They talk very candidly about things people don't want to talk about. They certainly wouldn't want to talk about it with a police officer in uniform standing there. And so what he was describing to you, I've actually seen it firsthand. So I got to go out and kind of pull the curtain down and see just exactly what they were doing. And it really made me happy.
I'm really glad that you shared that, Captain. And Tricia, I can tell by the way you talk about these partnerships that they're real. You've been working with these people.
Absolutely.
And don't just have a signed MOU that you stick in a drawer. You're building relationships. And I thank you for that. And that can make all the difference, in the world as that bridge. So thank you for your work with Common Street.
One of the key things here is that our communication remains open and nothing is easy and nothing comes quickly. And so when we're working with someone and we've ordered an ID or we've got a street doc coming to see somebody or we've got something in the works and then there's risk of that person being arrested for camping, that's when we reach out to law enforcement and say, hey, I've got stuff in the works. If we make these people move along, we're going to have to start all over again. We're going to have you back at square one. And I think that that's really where our partnerships do come into play. And that's where our communication and our partnership with law enforcement is so important.
That's all I can.
Jane.
Yeah, a couple questions, comments. Is the county or any other cities in Kitsap County involved with a program like yours? Were you under contract with them?
Nope.
Is there a way that maybe management could really reach, not you, our administration, to reach out to try to get them involved too, because it's not like this is just a city of Bremerton problem. And that's something I commonly hear from my constituents. It's like, you know, Bremerton does all these things and all different kinds of things, not just things for the unhoused. And they don't see the other cities or the county government. So that's one thing. Another thing, have you touched base with Bremerton Food Line at all? Because I know there's quite a few people who go up there to get food who are living in their vehicles. And I've watched them counsel people and try to help them get housing too. They've got a great executive director, so I would encourage you to reach out to
I have
her.
not, but I absolutely will. I have been to some of the other food banks and some of the nonprofits that are providing food. So
Yeah, she's awesome.
awesome.
So-
Yeah, thank you for that.
And then there's a lot of residents in Bremerton who are struggling with squatters in a house next door to them, and the legal trail of ownership of those houses is difficult to ascertain. But these people are really suffering living next door to them. Are you able to reach out to those private property owners and offer any help or advice?
I deal with this aspect of working in city of Bremerton
Mm-hmm.
almost daily. That's an issue that city legal is kind of steeped in. They have a list longer than I probably even know
Mhm.
of homes like this. And it does need to go through that process where they either abate these homes and take ownership of these homes, or get the person that owns the home to come into compliance with it. If there's crimes being committed there and homeowners or the private property owners want our assistance from the police to do, take care of a trespassing or a burglary or something like that, we'll definitely do that.
Well, I think it's the adjacent property owners
That are feeling the effects.
that are feeling the effects, either through a severe intimidation or rodents and that sort of thing. And the constant loudness of some of the squatters.
I'm thinking of a couple of houses that fit that exact
Mhm,
description
yeah.
that I talk about quite frequently with city legal and code enforcement,
Mhm.
where it doesn't rise to at least an established crime that we can determine. But it seems more of like a code enforcement or a city legal issue. And like I said,
Okay.
there's so many houses that are in that situation with city legal that, I know their job seems insurmountable, but I think that's the path forward and the way to deal with it, unless there's a legal reason for the police to become involved. And then we're happy to get involved. They have done some outreach to private property owners, which is kind of a squishy area, because
Right.
they're really working for the city of Bremerton and right-of-way issues. And but you have dealt with some private property issues, and I think help them with at least some advice or connecting them with some resources that they had no idea were available to them. But
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure we were able to help them a little bit.
With the people that are experiencing homelessness that are living in those areas or in those abandoned homes, they do qualify for resources. And so getting those resources made available to them. And then back to your comment about the other cities in the county, one of the things I am working on is bringing some of those county resources together so that we can all partnership together, not just within the city of Bremerton.
Yeah.
Our contract is for the city of Bremerton, but there are also resources that are established at the county level that should apply to the city of Bremerton. And so making those, learning what those resources are and making them available in Bremerton, that's something I've been working on.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your help.
Just a quick chime in here with the private property owners. So there's two specifically that I worked on that we had good success with. One was right off of MLK between 8th and between MLK and 6th. Worked with that private property owner to do fencing, because that helped with the arterial, that helped with some of the confusion about where people could be and where they could not be. Also help with that private property owner be able to continue to use the lot for the purpose she wanted to, which was parking. And so that was helpful. I think there's a couple more things we can do to follow up on that, but that was a quick response from them. In addition to that, there was a private property owner, and I'm avoiding using names, so I just don't know if they want me broadcasting it. Immediately adjacent to 7-Eleven, and it was in the alleyway, and we were able to connect with her. She was very concerned that it was going to take a long time, didn't know how it was going to take, and it was resolved within 24 hours. And so that was gone. Public Works swung by. It was abandoned at that point. PD provided proximity to make sure that we were safe, but they weren't right up on our team member that was addressing the encampment to determine if it was abandoned or populated. And so that was able to get resolved within 24 hours, and she was greatly appreciative of that. So those are some similar things that we've been able to deal with in terms of walking that fine line between not working for the property owner or private property, but also providing some solutions and being good neighbors as a city team.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anna.
Thanks.
Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for speaking at an appropriate rate of speed. Very happy to hear it. So I was wondering what you have been doing. I know you've only been doing this since 22nd January, but what have you been doing about repeat violators, like people who keep coming back? Because in every community in the world, there are people who keep coming back.
So again, I'm not, I do the outreach and engagement. I don't necessarily do the enforcement. However, if people are repeatedly coming back or repeatedly returning to homelessness, there's a bigger issue. And so that's part of my job, is to determine what that bigger issue is and to find what services are going to meet that need or going to address that issue specifically. And so part of that is just being able to complete needs assessments and finding out how we're going to fit the square peg into the round hole. And every situation is different. Every individual story is different. There's been no two situations out there that are the same. And so being consistent, following up, doing what we say we're going to do, those are the things that really make a difference. I have had a few people that have vacated the city of Bremerton because they said, "Oh my gosh, you're not going to go away, are you?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And so is that the response we necessarily want? No. However, that doesn't come at not having offered a plethora of services or options or things like that. And so being willing to listen and hear what people are saying, and you know, I tell them, I'm like your Uber driver. You order where you want to go, and it's my job to get you there safely. You're an expert at yourself. Let's try it your way. If that doesn't work, I know a different route to get there. Can we try it this way? So I think the follow-up and the consistency is probably key.
Okay. Thank you. We had many months of immersion in how difficult it is to find a bed for people with mental health issues on the Kitsap Peninsula, or a chemical detox facility on the Kitsap Peninsula. So just saying that Council President Chamberlain and Councilor Coughlin and I were down lobbying in Olympia for 50 chemical detox beds. We didn't get anywhere, but just saying we're working on it. I was wondering how much of your time is spent up transporting people to distant places that have these services.
I'm glad you brought it up. One of the things that's become glaringly obvious is the need for a transportation resource. We've had some good luck with a couple resources here, but one of those is kind of dried up, and another one can't. They're not always available. It's kind of like us. It's all about resources that you have at the time that you need them. But I think that's one of the things that they've run into that's been a challenge. So if anybody's listening and you provide a transportation resource, we could use it.
Transportation has been a huge challenge. And when people are in crisis specifically, or when people are asking for help to get off of substances, you really have to pounce while the iron's hot. Like that's when people are asking for help, that's when they need help. Yeah. Not 2 weeks from now, not 2 months from now. So I can give you one example, creative problem solving. I did reach out to one of the local ambulance companies that's not your local fire department. And I said, hey, I have a person in mental health crisis and I have a bed for them that's outside the county and I need to get them from here to there. And they said, all right, we'll transport them. And then they said, actually, we cannot pass 3 emergency rooms at regular hospitals to go to a mental health facility. And I said, all right, so can you get them to this hospital? And they said, yes. So I called that hospital and I said, I have a bed for this person at this mental health hospital. So when they come to you, can you do medical clearance? And the receiving hospital is ready for them. And they said yes. And they were able to adequately provide the transportation services we need that way. it honestly probably took someone calling and using the right verbiage and knowing what to say and what to do. And also it didn't really matter if it was 5 o'clock or 5:01, like the situation was there and present. So we were going to do it then and there.
Good.
The other thing I can say is that I've done this work for a really, really long time. And so one of the things I know is the resources. And so when it comes to getting people to treatment, there's a lot of treatment facilities that actually provide transportation. You just have to know where they are and what their schedule is. They go to detox facilities, they go to jails, they go to some of the bigger hospitals, they go to all different places. And I know those routes. And when I don't, I call until I do. And so finding those routes and then being able to facilitate a lesser, getting someone into Yakima for treatment is the best place somebody can go, in my opinion, who has children. They can take their children with them to treatment. Getting someone to Yakima is quite difficult. Knowing where they are on the side of the mountains 3 days a week, that's insanely helpful. So just making those connections and continuing to nurture those relationships. So when you got Common Street, you also got all of those partnerships that we have previously and the work that we've done in prior years, networking and stuff. So that's been a huge help as well.
That is
So-
great. I only have a couple more questions, and these are things that my constituents have been asking and asking and asking about. Bay Vista is just the most recent. I understand that you're working with encampments, and I also understand that Bremerton Police Department has a policy of empathy towards people who are living in their vehicles. But are you approaching sort of collections of vehicles that people are living in, or?
They're pretty scattered. I will tell you that we have run other programs that are safe parking sites that could have some value at some point. Definitely a conversation for a different day, but definitely what we're seeing is that people who are living in their vehicles absolutely don't want to lose their vehicle. And so they're doing whatever they can to avoid that. Where we run into issues with that is when people's vehicles don't run and when they break down. And then that's when you see things collecting around the vehicles and their friends come to help fix their vehicle. I should never touch your computer, and some of my friends should never touch my vehicle. I'll tell you that. So do what you're good at, what you're trained at, right? So that's where there's some other issues that come in, and I think that that's unfortunate. So yes, we see them scattered about pretty well. They're not always in the same spot, and like I said, if people see us frequently, then they tend to move more frequently. We do wear high-vis vests, and sometimes people think we're parking enforcement. So when we come up, they instantly try to drive off, and so people are getting a little more used to that and talking to us. But
Yeah, high-vis vests being taken for a parking inspector, that would be,
Bay
powerful.
Vista at the onset of the agreement, one of the first places we went to together, because there were actually RVs near Stanco.
Yeah.
And after a couple of days of letting them work, they were able to help those people repair an RV and get what they needed to move those. But then that's what the site maintenance is to make sure they don't repopulate, which is why they were familiar with what you were familiar with. And that's going to be cyclical. It's going to happen in all these places, but having them out there first with a firm, but fair approach, hey, look, if you need something and we can help you with something, then let's do that. But this is not a long-term, that's their pitch. This is not a long-term solution. You can't stay here. At some point this ends.
Yeah.
And that's why I would feel fine after you were there a few times offering the resources that you do to go out there and take a little bit more of an authority type of approach to a situation.
Your car is now running. Okay, so my final question, and thank you all, is what about encampments on private property where the owner appears indifferent to the damage and to the garbage produced and to the dogs running wild?
I'm going to kick that to Brendan and Elton. I do the resourcing side, so
that's another city attorney centric issue, kind of like the squatters issue. Where you can establish that they're actually burglarizing a place or trespassing. You have a true squatter situation where an eviction might be in order. That's really up to the city legal team, and those are oftentimes code enforcement matters too.
Well, it's vacant land.
So private property though.
Yeah,
Owner lives
private.
in another state or something.
For whatever reason, the owner is indifferent.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
I was just going to say I've worked a little bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Oh, so I'm not playing Kira, sorry.
I worked with a couple private property owners in addition to the two that I listed out, and made some phone calls just to see if there was a different angle we could try, if there was a different perspective, if there was some more solutions from a right-of-way services perspective, not necessarily trying to contract with them, but just saying, hey, here's sort of the issue. And I think it's maybe similar to when Captain Elton was talking about PD going down to an encampment. It communicates something different, for better or for worse, but also when code enforcement reaches out, it's a little bit different than a right-of-way services company saying, hey, we're working with the city, we're just trying to figure out what's going on. So trying different angles. One of those yielded some good fruit, and the other one just kind of remained indifferent, and we're letting code enforcement follow up on that.
Yeah, well, this one's just a tough nut because it's a forested parcel outside Pendergast Park. So, yeah. Oh well, it was just a hope. I keep trying to find something for it. Thank you very much. This was a really encouraging presentation. Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you. Brenda just kind of got my wheels turning here. Can you remind us of our contract together? Because he talked about right of way versus private property, but what are you actually contracted to do in our MOU? Or can you remind us of your services? Brendan.
Yes.
Brendan, you talked about right of way, but that is primarily what you're contracted to service for, correct? Rather than private property code enforcement engagement?
Correct. Yeah. And what I meant by that was if I call on off time and I can call from a right-of-way perspective of something that we've heard in the area from a Common Street consulting perspective and not from a city of Bremerton perspective, and just say, hey, just curious, we're doing work out there, and I can fact find that way. But yes, we are doing right-of-way services for sure for the city of Bremerton. But it's me calling from a consultant perspective and not from a representing the city perspective.
Right. Thank you so much. And just looking at this list that you have here, I mean, I recognize several names, and clearly you know the right people to connect with, right? So she knows what she's doing, y'all, out there in the public. And I think that I don't really have any questions. Just, thank you for the humane services that you're providing for bridging the gap. Something we talk about here is like, we don't like replication of services. And you've definitely proven this is not replication of services, this is bridging all of our resources together. So far, beautifully, and I'm sure those relationships are going to just keep growing in time. I just wanted to say, quickly, I believe in a couple of years. So one thing we talk about is having all of our resources are centralized in Bremerton for, for homeless and struggling folks. But there are some resources that will be happening out in the county at some point in time further out. I know that in a couple of years, I don't know how shovel ready it is, but we're going to have a treatment center out in Suquamish, for instance, that will be tribal member preferred, but will be open to everybody. And things like that. Are there any other resources that you know of that are on the horizon that are going to be? This is why you need transportation services too. But go ahead. Yeah.
They're not saying everything that you've done tons of stuff that outside of our jurisdiction, our city, or even our county.
I bet.
To get successful resolutions of the thing. A couple of people have been housed outside of our city because we haven't had the housing resources available. So you guys are being modest. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you need your people to toot your horn for you. So
well, sometimes when there's resources available that are being unused and there's no county constrictions on it, there's always county constrictions or city constrictions on or restrictions on some resources because they're funded by that specific county or city, right? But when there's resources that are funded from a federal level or from a healthcare authority level or a state level, I'd rather not have places unused or resources unused because there's no one locally to get there. And I'd rather take on the challenge of figuring out transportation to get someone there. So if we have a family that can fit into family housing somewhere outside of Kitsap, I'm not going to have that unit sit empty. We're going to use it, right? And there's housing and there's jobs and there's transportation available. And so that's how we do this. We're looking to do what's best for the person and for their situation.
Well, from my perspective, there's City of Bremerton residents, regardless of where they're ending up outside of the county, then you're doing our citizens good. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
The homeless shelter in Mile Hill's coming up on the horizon. I don't know when they're going to open up again.
This fall.
This fall.
So one of the biggest things that I'm advocating for, and that we're seeing in more and more areas, and from the team that I previously came from, is having a street doc come out into the streets with us. So I did reach out to a couple of the medical providers here, including Northwest Residency Program, to be able to get a street doc to come out and start treating wounds and abscesses in the field. They can clean wounds, they can clean abscesses, they can do stitches, they can do pregnancy tests. They have an ultrasound machine that they can bring out and do pregnancy stuff. They also use it to see how far some of these abscesses go or if necrosis has set in, so that we have a really clear understanding of what's going on with someone. That also helps bridge a gap with crisis stuff, because as we know, someone's in crisis, they go to a hospital for medical clearance. What happens at the hospital? They sober up, and in those 10 hours, they're like, oh, I'm good to go. I'm not in crisis anymore. That's really not the case. The case is they figured out they don't want to be there any longer.
Yeah.
And so having that medical clearance available to be able to get them to the crisis services they need for mental health services, that's huge. And then some of the services that can be provided, like antibiotics, substance abuse medications, so the medication-assisted treatment programs, some of the long-term injectable meds for mental health situations, when we have people that are still living outside, but they're trying to treat their mental health and they're not going to take a pill every day. I have a hard time taking a vitamin every day, even if it's a good gummy, right? So finding a street provider that can do that. So that, things like that. So that is something that we have been able to utilize in very creative situations and have very creative solutions for, but that is something that I have been advocating for here from that aspect.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for your work. That's all I have. Counselors, are we good on, Jane, you want to go right ahead?
Oh, no. That was like.
You're good. That was let's wave it on to the next topic, but this was really good for us, and we can't wait to hear your next update and see these numbers grow of folks that you have assisted. And I think I really like the number I really like is how you term it, meaningful connections. So that means a conversation, that means like you're getting to know the person, that means you're out like already turning those wheels, trying to find the next resource for them. And I know that you take that labor home with you at night and you're thinking about it all night and you think about it the next morning. And then like, I know how that work goes, and I appreciate you for taking that on. So thank you, Trish. Thank you, Brendan. And thank you, Captain Nelson. Do you have anything that you want to?
No, thank you guys for putting this out of time.
Thank you
very much. And thank you for making accommodations virtually here. I apologize I couldn't be there.
Of course. And, they arrived quite early. They were really excited to come present for us. So thanks. Thank you, Mr. Perko. You're welcome to sign off whenever you'd like. I'm going to put you back into panelist. If I can. I'm not sure if I can, but.
That's okay. I'll log off. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too. Okay, Mayor. It's all now we're ready for you.
Yeah.
All right. So we have items B1 and B2, confirm reappointment of Jay Montgomery, and also Sheldon Parr, that's number 2, to the BCAT Citizens Advisory Committee. Appointments are typically placed under consent agenda unless anyone has an objective. Appointees will have the opportunity to comment if they are in attendance at the regular council meeting on May 1st. Mayor Wheeler, take it away.
All right. Have you had a chance to review the applications?
Mm-hmm.
So they come highly recommended, and our BCAT director has recommended their reappointment. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Counselors?
No.
No questions?
I think that was the only question I was going to ask.
Lamb,
Ms.
done.
Colleen in favor of this, and so,
Thank
yeah.
you for including the applications.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's been a great change. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Mayor, it sounds like it's a consent agenda, counselors?
Absolutely.
All right. But if either of them are going to be in attendance, if they want to be, I'd love them to come and say a few words. So just introduce if they want.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Lieutenant Ryan Heffernan to present item 3, memorandum of understanding agreement for KSAP Special Assault Investigations and Victims Services. And so Denise, was this discussed at public safety? Mm-hmm. Okay. Any feedback or any outstanding questions you might have on this item?
No.
Okay. All right. Take it away.
Sure. Just to explain a little bit about the Kitsap County Special Assault investigation protocol. It's a standard operating procedures for law enforcement and partner agencies involved in the investigation, prosecution, and provision of services for cases involving child death, child sexual and physical abuse, and criminal neglect, online sexual exploitation, adult sexual abuse, domestic violence, and human trafficking. Examples of issues addressed in protocols are information sharing, roles and responsibilities of participating entities, case review, prosecution, and case tracking. Goals of the protocols are to provide consistency, increase the overall quality of investigations, ensure the safety of victims, and minimize secondary trauma. The protocols are reviewed every year by the board of Kitsap Saves, and that's the Special Assault Investigations and Victim Services, and any changes have to be approved by the prosecuting attorney, Chad Enright. Having reviewed the protocols with our detective sergeant, there doesn't appear to be any notable changes in the most recent version. There's no fiscal impact associated with the protocols and no change to how the department will investigate these crimes. Rather, this is an endorsement by the department and other entities in the county of best practices for collaboratively responding to these incidents. And with that said, I request authorization for the chief to endorse the protocols.
Counselors, do you have any questions? I mean, happy to just, would we like this? Yeah, go right ahead, Denise.
The only thing that I would say is that, I had the opportunity when I led the YWCA to spend quite a bit of time in Port Orford at the Saves unit office or whatever it was called. And I was very impressed with the work going on, not only in that office, but in court and, in other places. So I'm so glad to see that our police department, works very closely with not only the prosecutor's office, but also the agencies out there helping victims. So any new news on the sexual assault aspect of, has an organization actually taken that on? I'm seeing
So I know you had that question during the public safety committee meeting, and I know Gary Hersey had mentioned.
Yeah.
And I think it was the Rebuilding Hope.
Yeah.
And they have, and they're a signatory to this as well.
Great. Okay. Super. Thank you.
I don't have any questions. Counselors, consent?
Yes.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Have a good evening.
You too.
May all your presentations go that quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have Chief John Payne. Hey. And this was our walk-on, y'all. And so there was a little description added, and it sounds like legislature changed deadlines. So this was a little late coming in the packet, but that was because of a date change from legislature. And I don't know that we really need to ask if it's been through a committee because we already know what this is. So we just need to
We did talk about it in committee.
You did talk about it in the committee. Any lingering questions or feedback from that conversation?
Always about this, but
But I mean, yeah. So I don't know, but specifically appointments to the committees.
What the council's role can be.
Okay.
Right. And so this kind of came out of that. The timing was really good. And so it looks like we have an opportunity to exercise that right if we want to.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Chief Payne, feel free to take it away.
Yes, thank you, Council President. So as you stated, the state legislature moved the date somewhat unexpectedly on us. So we forced our hand a little bit on this. So we have already reached out to the public with a public notice to seek out members to serve on both the for and against committee for our EMS levy. Our request is that you'll allow us to come back next week at the larger city council meeting with a list of names for your approval and appointment to those committees. That's all we have.
Great. I'm curious what you found out, Denise. You talked about exercising it. What was the kind of, do you want to share out about that conversation?
Well, Kylie sent some, I think it was a
MRSC.
Yeah. Maybe it was just to me, but I think it was all of us recently because I have been asking, what is our role? What can we do as individuals? What can we do as a council? I have significant concerns as head of public safety about resources. As we're looking at population growth, are we going to be able to provide that extra, not even what we're doing now, but the extra public safety services that are going to be necessary? So I didn't, it just, Brett, maybe you could help, but maybe not, because it was Kylie that I talked to about it. But it just seemed like we could, there were things that we could do, maybe not as a whole council, besides saying, yeah, you can put it on the ballot, but maybe more as individuals.
There are.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm sorry, President Chamberlain. I can't
No worries.
remember exactly what was cited, but it just seemed encouraging.
You know what? We'll follow up with Kylie about that. And I think,
I think we're all interested really in what.
yeah. So, yeah, I know.
Yes. Yes. Have we ever done that before?
Yeah.
We did do that before. Okay.
For the police and.
Let's just circle back to that another time, because I would love to get a presentation again. And I think Kylie has something in the works for that.
Yeah.
So we can find out, what we can and can't do. There's some things, I think that there's some new information out there I'd love to hear. But other than this, Jane.
Yeah, I have a question. So I know that you typically run a levy like a year early, just in case it fails and you can run it again. So the wording of this is kind of weird. It says the fire is asking for property tax increase of 50 cents per $1,000 of assessed valuation. But you're not really asking for an increase of 50 cents because right now it's 37 cents. So is it because it's going to expire this August?
We are running it a year early right now for the reason you stated. And it's a restoration to the 50 cents per thousand.
That's a good one.
Not an increase of 50 cents per thousand.
Right. So I think that
The
needs to
wording
be
cleaned up.
reworded. Yeah.
And then good catch on the fire.
The fire.
Can you point us which page that is, Jane?
It's on the agenda bill.
Oh, on the agenda bill. Okay,
The last one.
Yeah.
no problem.
Because
Increase two. So the fire department is asking for property tax increase 2 is really kind of what we're saying.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And that's our agenda bill. So you can just, if you don't mind having those corrections made.
For sure.
But the last time you ran the levy, wasn't it 50 cents and it's just gone down because assessed values have gone up? Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so as the property taxes and things change, the value descends. So while it still reads the same, what we're getting back in value is less. So
Right.
in essence, what we're getting now is 37 cents, and 50 would just get us back to what it was
Right.
when it was originally passed.
I think that's something you really need to make clear.
Yes,
Simply,
yes,
simply
yeah.
infographic.
I think, yes, I was gonna say, use it to the infographic
Yeah.
in our public safety meeting, which is always smart.
I love infographic.
Yeah, we can definitely clean up that one.
Okay.
Anna.
Yeah, I had written restore, which was Chief McGanny's language, and restore is really good. I'd like to suggest that the last levy, many people that I talked to in my district didn't really understand what it was for, and that the language be made really clear and that it be tested by. It's going to be nice weather, having firefighters walk around the neighborhoods of their fire stations or something, whatever, and just say, hey, and knock on people's doors and say, does this sound like something,
Is it clear?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because the people of Bremerton are the ones that you want. So,
Show it to my grandson. If he gets it, anybody will.
well, Albert Einstein says, you never really understand something until you can explain it to your grandmother. So that's pretty great. Yeah, so I guess that's my strong thing, because really people thought with the last one that you guys were going to build new firehouses, you know, or go to Hawaii for special fire training or once they were.
Lava skills.
Exactly. They were gonna drape themselves with orchids to, protect themselves from lava.
Yeah, so I made a note to like vet the language out with a larger group.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's great to be
Pictures.
a firefighter because like everybody's happy to talk to the fire department.
Generally,
Well, yeah, mostly everybody.
for sure.
Yeah, that was about it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And people going through permitting. Okay, anyway, no, my experience has actually been wonderful. Actually, really wonderful on that end. Counselor, no, it really has. Public record. No. So counselors, do you want to put this on consent? How do we handle this? You're going to come to us with a list of names at our next. Do we need to have this at general business, or do we want to just take?
Well, normally we don't do like people's names in general business.
That's true. I mean, it's public record, but
I believe there's going to be a list of names that be provided to you.
okay. Do we know when those names will be provided by?
So the public outreach we sent out had asked people to submit their letters of interest or their expressions of interest to Chief McGanny by April 30th.
Okay.
So in time for the next meeting to provide.
On May 1st.
So we'll have another late agenda edition, I'm expecting.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go ahead and let you know it's okay to walk it on, but I do want a deadline because if it's on the 30th, that's a Tuesday, correct? So our meeting is Wednesday.
Review it in the
In the briefing?
Yeah.
briefing.
We can review it.
Let's-
yeah.
We can
Yep.
review it in the briefing.
Yeah.
Let's say, I would say, let's say consent. Review it in the briefing, and if we feel a reason that we have to pull it down. we will.
Let's do it.
Okay.
And people who object to it being on consent can make their public comments that way.
Thank you so much. So we'll do that. We'll review it at the briefing, and then we will move forward with it with the idea that it's on consent, but the list of names you'll provide at the briefing. Okay. Thank you, Chief Payne.
Thank you guys.
All right. And so counselors, as we are meeting today, I want us to make sure that only one of us are leaving the room at a time, or we won't have quorum.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
so if two of you are gone, I guess that means we're done. But really, I wanted to also ask, we have kind of a good, thorough discussion ahead of us under general council business about our action items, our action steps. I'm sorry. And so I just wanted to kind of I just wanted to see if it was okay if we took just a brief brain break right beforehand.
Yes.
I know Michael's not a fan of breaks, but I'm kind of looking to you. He's like, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take I want to give it like an abstract number, an 8-minute break. So we'll be back at 6:08.
Until then, my flower.
Okay. No, we have, it's 6:08.
You stopped it.
Okay.
I said,
No,
okay,
I was,
we're all here. I'm gonna call us back to order. Okay, so basically, the next general council business item is me presenting on action steps for 2024-2025 council goals and priorities. So I guess what I'd like to do is my vision for it, and I'm gonna kind of check in with y'all, is that we kind of look at these items and divvy them out either ad hoc, all council, or committee. So, and I'm going to take notes, and then the action steps aren't something we're going to be necessarily posting. This is just internal working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like historically, if you don't mind, we've
Yeah.
not had action steps, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but we have always taken the sort of the components of the goals, priorities, and kind of assigned them somewhere.
Well, there actually has historically been action steps in past years.
they looked at.
How many years?
It's been a few years, but it was basically, it was in, I've got the historical document.
2015.
Okay.
Jennifer,
All this.
don't go
Like-
all
So yeah, before my time. So
Yeah.
older than 6 years.
Yes.
And you want to bring these back.
And so this is just kind of what we talked about. We talked about it at the joint planning session. We talked about it. Yeah, that we would be kind of circling back. And basically this is, since we're doing it for 2 years, it's a good way to kind of divvy up the work and check ourselves and do.
We could also do it regularly, like just check in on it. I like the idea of the structure. I like parsing it out through the structure, not individuals, and
Right.
the one thing I wonder, since the commissions aren't connected really to the council, there's like this first thing, imposed impact fees on new development.
Wait, pause. You're on a totally
Can
different
we-
document.
Oh,
So we're just gonna go to council goals and priorities. What that is feedback from Anna on potential steps. So if we just go to the actual council goals and priorities, I'd like to just
I'm
linearly, that's okay.
I thought we were integrating those.
No, this is
Okay.
just her feedback on ideas for that. So
Okay.
what I'd like to do is to just run through these, but Anna, you have something you'd like to say.
I do. This is the result of you and me talking about things that were brought up at the joint planning session and me adding in other things that had come up over the years that I've been observing council. So
For the record, these are things that you brought to a meeting that we had, yes.
yeah,
It's not necessarily anything that I agreed to. So it's just, and none of, actually, a couple of things that I had suggested aren't on the list either for revenue generation. These are just kind of spitballing some ideas.
no, that's true. I knew I emailed you that I knew I had forgotten them, but I couldn't remember what it was I'd forgotten.
Yeah. And so, and I don't have that document. It was handwritten on there, but just a couple of the ideas are on there. But what I'm saying is the larger goal is to take items 1 through 15 and just kind of like, we can talk about where they properly live in accountability.
Yeah.
And so community and employment engagement. So that would be number one, support development of diversity, equity, and inclusion position. I would almost say that's kind of an all council. That's like, we're going to be checking in on that. HR is going to bring us stuff. It's going to be an agenda item. We don't have to necessarily source it out. We can, as a full council, check in on that. And I want to know your thoughts on number 1, where should it live in accountability? That was just my thought on it.
Full council.
Yeah.
Okay. Any objections to that? Okay.
Nope.
All right. C2I.
Did it?
Those are kind of individual council members, right? So individual.
Yeah.
For I.
Yes.
There's 2I.
What?
Okay. Do you have the council goals and priorities? It's on page 74.
Yeah.
Do you have the version of, it's a C1 document?
Yeah.
And we have numbers 1 and 2 and then
Okay.
2I.
All right.
I'm sorry.
It's just weird that you're referencing C1, which is the page.
Did I say C1?
Yeah, you said
I apologize.
C1. So I'm looking for a C1.
I apologize.
Not a,
I just went number order. I apologize if I said something, if I misspoke.
what? Okay.
Thank you for checking me.
Yeah. And I would actually try to suggest that we match to the underlined topic. And then if we need to break one up.
Like that one, it's all over the place.
Well, I have
Committees.
I would propose that,
that's all counts. Okay.
well, but for instance, 2 II, this is going to get silly, isn't it? 2 essentially. That's could be an ad hoc committee, and I think Anna's already started on that, and so
Michael and Jeff both
Jeff.
reviewed it.
Yeah.
And that's why I sent it along,
okay.
just to find out if.
Certainly a good start, to get on the website.
I really like the part of like, do I even live in Bremerton?
Yeah.
You know?
And so what I would propose is, with each of these, if they are something that could be brought back and shared with the whole group, like I know you shared it by email, but to actually take action on sending it to our lead for the websites, we would probably want to preview it as a full council after an ad hoc, your ad hoc. Well, there wasn't an official ad hoc that was assigned. So do we want to speak to that for a moment? I mean, you said you showed it to Michael and to Eric.
Jeff.
Jeff, I apologize.
That was something that was determined during a council meeting
Okay.
That seems very ad hoc.
If we do an ad hoc, that's council.
You got to bring it to council.
No, I'm just saying like
The ad hoc.
this
Unless there's a formal
this is
committee.
assigned to council. Then we were saying, oh, let's get a couple of us together and knock this out. So yeah,
Okay.
I don't think we should put down ad hoc on here
So
No,
you
'cause
think,
because it doesn't exist.
It already happened.
okay. I'm a little confused here. I just really want to do things in the right legal way, but also in a way that gives us all like ownership of it in a sense and verification that it's good to go.
So how about we just print out the email? And at our next study session,
It's a tire.
everybody look at it and say, this doesn't read clear. This is great. The
And
wording
have it in
can be
a,
changed.
in a- like we could have a, go ahead.
And then just ask the webmaster to put it up.
This is again, I think, where it would be really handy to have a communications person for the
Yes.
city.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, it would.
That being said, we're functioning without it. I believe that what we've come up with so far, which was discussed at council, that could be sent to you or to entire council. We could all take a look at it online
Mhm.
and,
Well,
and then you could submit it on behalf of council to the mayor. Because submitting things, that's not really a council, it's not on is it on our?
so here's
page?
my concern. We are making, it's not a legal action like on an agenda item. However, we are making a decision on council related business in a sense. So isn't it something that should be less quorum in an ad hoc and then brought to council publicly for approval? Don't you think, like, Brett, do you know what I'm saying here?
So rather than all the council about what they like, that needs to happen.
Mhm.
But
Jane.
Proposed kind of seems to make most of sense that you have this, everybody comes together, says, I don't like this, I don't like that. Some sort of agreement that whatever you said it.
Okay.
It does seem like city council is stepping in to do a job that the administration, really want the administration to do, but we don't feel comfortable asking them to do it. It's a frequently asked questions about the city. And it's not a policy.
I'm gonna say
It's
though,
not funding.
we put it in our goals and priorities. You agreed to the goals and priorities, right? So this is something that we agreed to as a full council.
Yeah.
And Mayor, does
And we're
it
gonna
feel
put
like
it on our council page.
is there a problem with stepping out of
Go on our council page.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Is there a problem with us creating our own FAQ for city information that's clickable through our city council website?
Well, I mean, unless Brett sees something like that's legally wrong, I think that if council comes together as a body and then you make a declaration that this is what we hear from the citizens.
Mhm.
And so you put that on
Okay.
your page.
Okay,
I think it's okay to represent yourself as a body.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense because of the citizen connection. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to get rolling on this item. So Anna, I'd love to have this on the next study session when we meet in May. Is that good to go?
That's good to go.
Cool.
Have you all had a chance to review it?
Mhm.
Is there any problem with it?
I didn't see.
I
it.
haven't had a chance to fully review it and it's not in our packet.
Yes, it is. I'm looking at it.
The FAQ, oh, I apologize. This is the FAQ.
Okay.
Okay, well, this was my issue with it is I thought this was just a free flow, but this doesn't look like, I guess I don't know the format that it would go into. Maybe that's for the webmaster to decide. And then at the bottom, it's not completed because it says possible links to add for Jeff and Anna 20 March. And we don't have information for that.
Well, I can get it but this was just Jeff and I talking about it. And
Yeah.
If the rest of you
Doesn't
want
really
it.
be the scope of what
Yeah.
we're trying to do.
So I'll have it on the next study session for us to present and talk about and approve, and it'll just, it's mostly ready. Okay, so next, we have,
Before you go on, can I just, because there is a very long segment on how you find out who's planning or building what and where.
Yeah.
Can we have staff make sure that DCD has a chance to review that before we put it up?
absolutely, good idea.
I think that really needs some,
Mayor's raising his hand.
Mayor,
needs to be
Wildly,
condensed.
I did condense it.
I still think it's wordy.
It's no kidding.
This is, but I don't think that's gonna make it easy for somebody to understand. We don't
I
have to.
agree.
We don't have to, I mean, it's basically, the planner will tell you when the DCD counter at Norm Dix is open to look at site plans. You can just say, have a link to DCD counter hours, but we don't have to. I just feel it's wordy and somebody's gonna get confused. It's almost like there's too much information.
We're not communications experts.
Well,
so your recommendation was to send it to DCD. The reason, I don't mean to keep cutting you off on this, my concern is we have about 30 to 40 different items to get through. And we'll be able to have these robust discussions at our next study session. Do you want to workshop it in the meantime, Anna, or do you want to just send it to DCD to have them preview it?
I'll do both those things.
And then Mayor, you had something to add to it?
Yeah, just real quick, we revamped the website. Has anybody been getting any feedback? Because I know the idea behind Good Neighbor Handbook started back when people were just looking at the old website and just rolling their eyes and like, I'm not even gonna try. So I just, I don't know if folks are getting feedback, whether it's more comfortable, successful navigating, getting the questions answered. The goal is 2 clicks to get where you need to be. So, and that's a complete redo of what we had. So I'm just tossing it out for thoughts.
well, I should try that because I was extremely frustrated and I gave up with the old city's website, the old one.
Yep.
So I'll be the guinea pig because I'm tech adverse.
Well, I haven't found it, like, I was trying to find the 2024 sidewalk construction plan. I'm lucky. I have a direct way to get that, but I could not get that from the website.
FAQs are great.
And these are council FAQs.
Yeah.
On the construction map that we have, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's down.
I don't think all that's ready yet.
Well, but like a little placeholder that's saying, this isn't ready yet, would be helpful. This will be, watch this space.
Let's have this, can we have this discussion again at the next study session for this item, since it'll be on the, okay.
Yes.
All right, 2-3. Anna, did you have one last thought on that? I'm sorry.
I've checked all these links, so if you guys could do that too, that'd be great. Bye.
Oh, thank you. Okay, 2-3. So that's public outreach pre-budget season.
Meeting.
Well, I think when we talked about it, it was more like we wanted to have a robust, like we wanted to have more stakeholder involvement and more organizations notified. We wanted to get input, and I just wonder if this is something that we can kick to finance to create a plan. Michael? Okay, finance. Okay.
That seems appropriate.
No, that would be like one of your agenda items. So to see how we're going, so this will be like an agenda item at a finance meeting.
I love that.
Okay. So 2-4.
I've already started that.
Give it.
Shane, but and I'd love to partner with you on it. So you want to do ad hoc on that, and I'll be on that with you. I mean, I know you already started it, but
Yeah, I've been
Okay.
working with Marilyn, Ryan, the school principal's admin, and Dr. Crawford and I have been talking about it. And so,
cool. Let me just be like your sounding board and bounce off if you need any questions. And is everybody okay with her just rolling with it? Yeah.
and how much engagement do you want high school students to have?
Michael, or Mayor Michael first.
Very little. I mean, realistically, it was, we started this thing for COVID, and what we had was one Bremerton high school student from each district, and one of the things that I found interesting was this idea of just asking them their thoughts, asking them what they know about the city, how they find out information about the city, that kind of stuff. But almost more of like a student advisory group. I think there was some talk about like them sort of shadowing or things like that. There's a piece of that that's, somebody who works with you, things like that. Like, we're not trained to work with youth.
Well, I am.
I am.
Oh, and I am, Stephen, you probably have to. Okay, so maybe we are.
Great with kids.
Maybe we are, but I don't like them. No.
Wait a minute.
Okay, see, I have a completely different view. My vision is that they pull somebody from a leadership position in the high school, and that one person attends our council meetings, our study sessions. We give them access to the packet when we do, and they would just be a non-voting member. But we need to start listening to voices that are younger than us
Are you,
with ideas.
Are you like saying we would invite them up on the dais with?
They could sit at that little
lower
lower
dais.
chair where the
Right
press
next to
used to
you.
sit.
What's the deal?
I think that sets a precedent for other underserved populations to want like a chair at the table.
The high school?
Well, we're talking about youth, but there's other segments that could come and say, we think we're not being heard enough and we need to be at the table. So we need to come up with something that we can support.
Youth cannot be elected to council.
Right, and I have a kind of like we can have, here's the deal is, I mean, we can have a special advisory committee, they can elect within themselves, within their own,
Mhm.
and then they can have like once a year, or they can come up on the dais with us as a special arrangement. What do you think about that? I mean, would that
If
be?
the goal, if
Absolutely.
the goal is for us to get input from them, right, and give them a great experience, is that what it is?
Well, I don't know about the great
You're
experience
correct.
part,
The
but
question is, who's responsible for this?
Okay.
It's
Okay.
council.
Can we count, can Jane also use you as a sounding board, or is that
Yeah.
okay, Jane? So just, and Michael and I will be sounding boards.
I have to find the account.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
actually, I probably owe you a copy. Split your sandwich with me.
Mhm.
Okay, then.
Might just have to.
So Michael is buying coffee and sandwiches at the next meetup for this item. Yeah, Anna.
Thanks. So another possibility is, we've seen classes of civics from Bremerton High School attending our meetings, and it might be interesting to work with them, because if you're taking a civics course, you might well have some interest in how government works,
Mhm.
whereas if you're the student body president, in my experience, you have no interest in how government works.
What I would like to propose is, Jane, when you are feeling like you want full council to fully work on this, if you need more feedback, can you bring it back? And we'll put it as like a general council to workshop.
Yes.
Maybe get to whoever started this through the high school last time, make sure.
What happened is she moved to the middle school.
Well,
teacher
she's still-
did.
She's still around. Okay.
She's,
So I
yeah.
just want to say,
So I think you already.
the work ahead of us is just assigning
Mhm.
responsibility to these things. We can't,
It's not
You
due.
can't
on almost
workshop
every
everything.
one we try, I mean, it's our nature to want to do it, but we need to get through this list. We can check it off.
So let's please, yeah, let's try not to
We'll talk
work,
about them.
let's try not to workshop each of
Like,
these
We're gonna
items.
delegate them.
Like,
We're gonna just delegate.
Continue, okay, next one is under economic development, number 3. Continue work with the Greater Kitsap Chamber, Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, Downtown Bremerton Association, et cetera, to promote economic development
That's really-
initiatives.
I think that whole section of economic development is full council.
Okay, I believe that 3 is full council. Let me take a look here. The next one, promote economic development initiatives. Yeah, full council. Okay.
Housing equity, full council.
Well, let's pause on these though, because a whole council, yes. But, for instance, I mean, historic preservation policy, Main Street certification, Bremerton Creative
Well,
District.
Here comes Mike Riley. Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Jennifer, I beg your pardon.
Does Mike Riley want to talk?
He
to
was
us?
visualizing, he was materializing, and then he unmaterialized.
Okay. So I kind of wanted to process 4I, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, because they were, I mean, championed by certain council members. And so I just kind of want to check in because, I mean, for instance, chronically vacant building policy development. Do we need to do anything with that, or do we just need to support, right?
These are, I believe that these are our goals and priorities, which then administration is very much aware of. So as the mayor works with these organizations, he knows that he has full council backing, and
But he
there's an
doesn't.
expectation.
He doesn't have full, I don't back some of these things.
Oh.
Does he have the
Well-
majority?
Well, you know, well, Jane, you
Ideally you do, because these are our group
We
goals.
have voted.
you
on
voted
it.
on to approve these.
Yeah.
These are
So,
majority.
I abstained from some of them,
Well,
no, you
No, it
didn't,
was
you didn't,
one
you
vote.
voted them in from,
but then we were given advice from both Andrea and legal that some of this stuff was gonna be extremely expensive and time consuming for staff.
this
So how
is,
can we say
no,
forward if we haven't really talked in depth about them?
this wording came from our conversations with DCD. But the Bremerton Creative District and Main Street certification is already happening.
Yeah,
A historical preservation policy rather than the specific program that was mentioned
Yeah, we struck the whatever
from the comprehensive plan. Did we talk about
the
that?
designated
Yeah.
Struck that specific certification.
Certified something, just certified historic.
So this was just
Historic preservation policy.
yeah, where it could be, and that's what she preferred. That's what they preferred as well, is a generic language rather than a specific program. And so what I want to do is kind of ask you now, Bremerton Creative District, Main Street certification, all of these things. Do we want to have like check-ins, like rolling check-ins on any of these things on our agendas and study sessions?
I think that would be great. They could do it all at the same time. I mean, it really is redevelopment, rejuvenation, all of this, and without an economic development quadrant within the city, it's good to keep an eye on this, get some updates, especially we're funding the Main Street certification.
What I want to ask is, here's where I'm really going with this. Chronically vacant building policy development. That feels like something that could be workshopped and would be workshopped in Public Works, right?
See, to me,
Historical preservation
Yeah,
policy, no?
That's not our
Okay.
property.
DCD, we don't have a committee for DCD.
And incentives and funding for commercial areas wouldn't go through finance.
That could go through
That-
finance, I guess.
It could. Yeah.
So why don't I just,
Okay.
the only one that I'll put on separate is for 5 for finance, and then the rest will be full council.
Can I just
Yeah, Anna.
suggest that at least in Charleston, one of the incentives that would really help economic development there is lighting, which is public.
And I feel like you're workshopping it, and I want to assign it to a
I
category.
am Public Works.
Okay, so it has a public works component.
Yeah.
But does anybody, I mean,
I think finance is the bigger, because when we talk about incentives and funding for commercial areas, we're talking about multi-million-dollar investments for the most part, aren't we? I mean, I hope we're not talking about
I see where,
planters or
right.
Those are
really.
the small things that can often make a big
That's
difference.
grassroots.
Yeah.
That's grassroots. Fully support grassroots work.
So
Right.
I have 4 or 5 as finance and the rest of them as whole council. And what I'll do is kind of put it on the, I'll make sure we have an agenda item prior to budget season that kind of rolls back and gives us updates for all of those items. And then finance can at will put that as an agenda item for their meeting and then process it back to us. Oh, yes. Okay. Now I gave you 2. Okay.
Let's just
Yeah.
give everything to finance. It's really all about money.
You know, does Public
Right,
Works
sounds
really
good.
want more on their agenda? And he's out of here. Okay. 5, housing equity, ensure rental housing standards are met.
There's actually been action taken on that in the audit committee.
Okay. Is that an audit committee kind of a thing, you guys?
Well, it's done. The auditor has
Cool, well done.
submitted the landlord licensing compliance database to Andrea, and we're expecting her review to be complete probably after our next meeting, but before our next
Perfect.
study session.
Audit.
She identified over 1,800.
So that's an audit.
Yep.
So, okay, number 6, explore
Well,
feasibility of using.
About to come back to full council is my point.
Okay, perfect. So 6, explore feasibility of using surplus city-owned parcels for affordable housing projects. Audit.
Well, audit has already reduced that.
Perfect.
Audit.
Number 7, support creative humane housing solutions for a wide variety of housing types.
I think this is influential more than.
I have a question
Yeah.
Public.
because it's under that, it says review income levels for 12 and 20-year multifamily tax exemptions. There currently is no 12 and 20.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Well, the 20, the
The 12 can be extended.
yeah, you can extend to 20.
But we haven't as council said that we're going to extend.
It's allowable by state law.
But we as council have to say that, yes, we want in Bremerton to extend it
All we're saying is review income levels.
for 12 and 20.
Okay.
We don't have 12 and 20.
We're workshopping it, so, but I'm
Finance.
understanding what she's saying. So, but 7.3 is finance, absolutely. And that's where the MFTE has landed before. Continue to support.
It comes through planning commission as well. I'm just saying a lot of this is the.
Yeah,
mayor's-
well, we're a team.
Planning
It's,
commission's
you know,
not-
checks
I
and
know.
balances,
Yes.
baby.
I know.
So that's what it's all about. There's nothing that we do really that also doesn't touch administration that, you know.
Oh, I got it.
yeah.
I just don't want to double. Yeah, anyway.
So let me go back to support community partners in development of low barrier hybrid shelter, low income housing, full council, right? Okay, are any of these items really going to come to any, that's going on with our shelter? Is any of them going to come to committee first? I
They go
mean,
through planning commission.
okay,
They do.
so then, one is whole council,
Shelter.
perfect. And 2, which is continue to support creation of missile. Let's not create missiles here in this room.
No.
Missing middle housing.
Full
So
council.
whole council. Because that is, yeah, like you're saying, where it goes with somebody else. And then finance for 3. Okay. Perfect. So moving on to 8, develop policies. Now, all of these, it's hard because we don't have a parks committee.
Really?
I heard those
Yeah.
out. Now, you can blame me and Michael because we brought back the Public Safety Committee sans parks. So develop policies that encourage environmental stewardship. Where would that land?
Ad hoc committee of Anna.
I know you want to volunteer for that one.
Well, I haven't.
How do we get parks back on one of the
We
committees?
just decide to make it public safety and parks again.
Just
Okay.
as a group, we
Well,
can
what
do
about the
that.
Parks.
Parks didn't need it a lot. Parks Commission's not us.
Right, but-
I've always thought that if Parks ever needed a committee, it could just use public safety, which used to be called public safety.
They've often come to finance and public works meetings, or finance really, and public works because of the partnerships they have.
But the Parks Commission isn't us, but it does say in the charter they're supposed to report to us every month.
Yep. It does. Monthly report. to
So I tell you
council.
what.
Council.
So they're at least 6 years. behind.
Influential.
Yes.
So I am happy to investigate that with legal and make sure that we're all copacetic to invite them to come do a report because it sounds like y'all want a report.
Yeah.
That's not so, and it's possible that it would overlap with these items.
How do you
But
feel about the side?
oh well, it's all recorded, baby. So
Okay.
we're in public.
I guess.
You want to make it aside? Go ahead.
No, I just meant sorry. I was gonna say, what do you think about putting parks back on? It could be good. We're getting a new parks director. Maybe they might need a little more support, a little more savvy on how things go.
I don't understand the connection with public safety.
Well, because I guess,
I do with public works.
yeah, well, Public Works is.
The reason it was public
I know.
safety is because there's a lot of liability in parks. There can potentially be encampments in parks. There's also, I mean, a lot of activity happens in parks that police can be called to, EMTs, fires can be called to, and it's a public space. So I think that's why it was looped
And
in.
Public Works is too big
They're-
already.
I know
Too big.
it's too big. I know.
Let me I think we could have this discussion at a future study session. So can I put this on for the next study session as well as maybe the next study session or the one after it? We don't even have to rush it, but let's think about how, if we want to bring back parks
Yes.
into the public safety committee. But for now, agenda item. This develop policies that encourage environmental stewardship. So here's where it's a little problematic because we can develop policies that encourage environmental stewardship.
Yes.
So how do we want to treat it? Do you want to do whole council? Do you want to do ad hoc?
What I would suggest is this whole section goes under whole council today. And we can figure that out. We can always move it down. We can, we're not setting this up to have it scribed into grant. Like,
And it sounds like we kind of like may want to explore adding parks and public safety, and then these would all go under that same committee.
Which
and-
still falls under.
Sustainability committee.
Oh,
That's unsustainable.
sounds unsustainable. We don't have enough council. We need to increase our council members back to 9, and then we might have enough to make committees work, right? So we're gonna do, okay, council, tell me how you feel. 8, 9, what Michael's proposing is 8, 9, and 10 whole council for
I think
now.
it's important enough to be full council.
Jane,
I agree.
okay,
I'd like to speak to number 10 later today.
so support sustainable funding for parks operations. Is that something that should go to finance? I mean, do you want to put number 10 under finance? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I was going to speak to it later, but here it's like to include in the job description for the Parks Director, successful experience, grant writing and fundraising.
Where would you like to place item number 10 for responsibility?
Full council.
Okay. All right. And number 11. Increase public safety funding. Public safety. Can I just assume that's for you?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
We didn't think it was.
same. Same with number 12. That's on public safety committee.
Yes.
Okay.
You
Does
have-
everybody agree with that?
Do we have experience doing that? Do we know about methods of monitoring that are effective and accurate?
I think the discussion, as I've been, I think we need to flesh that out. And what I'd like to be encouraging our public safety departments to do is get more well-versed in the initiatives and so forth that can be utilized.
Oh.
So I do think it's a public safety.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's also finance, obviously, but I think it's public safety.
The monitoring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and really, I mean, we're citizens. We might have our own subject matter expertise when we come on, but none of us are, I mean, like, well versed in every single thing that happens at the city level, right? So
Right.
our committees are a place to do that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and they have expertise that we don't.
And so the conversations start there, and then so these would be items that you would kind of have on your agenda, and then you would circle back and maybe give a report out to us at a general council
Yeah.
business meeting or whenever it was appropriate.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Lucky number 13. Move heading on down the line here. Increase residential street maintenance funding. So this is like all of these
works.
are generally public works, right, Jane?
Yep, they all
Increase-
are.
Number 13 is
Increase the
Jane, is
funding?
Mhm.
public works.
Starts there.
Absolutely. I know Jane's got some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it might be juggling other things out of their budget.
And you really can't,
Yes.
Jane, I mean, you really need to have your public works director involved in that conversation too.
Yeah.
It's going real well.
Yeah.
Establish ranking system for scoring, transportation, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's not, it's important, but it's
It's working.
public
It's
works.
We're already,
We're
we're
close.
already in.
Yeah.
Excellent. So that's public works. And then prioritize multimodal connectivity or 1, trail network through Bremerton. Is now, as we're talking about trail network, Jarstead Park,
Public work.
Public Works? Okay. If we have
Parks.
what are your thoughts
And,
on it?
and parks. Parks should be working with.
Should we?
Hey, let's talk about Warren Avenue Bridge some more.
I was so excited.
You want to come on up here and talk about the bridge?
So number 1 and number 2, I want to defer to Public Works on this, but also with the caveat that maybe we will. What I'm worried about is if we do, okay, Michael, let's process this for a hot minute, and we can process this another time. But if we do add parks back in with public safety, and they've already come to different committees, then we're going to be, we would have to start at the beginning of the year, maybe, or
I don't
breaching
I don't
quorum.
think we're in a situation like that, but we could just monitor making sure.
All right. So y'all want number 15.1, 15.2, 15.3, And 15
And a pair of
4.
twos.
Blackjack.
Prioritize database traffic calming policy, prioritizing pedestrians and cyclists.
I mean, this all feels like public works.
It is a public
It is
work.
Okay, so the entirety of 15 is public works. So
Our biggest department, right?
I think, yeah.
Come on up.
So the only one about that is a little bit on the confusing side.
Residential.
Because we're doing pedestrian priority networks, bicycle priority networks with the transportation all in a comp plan. But when you think of trail, I mean, typically we don't do trails, right? The joystick hits that play, it's kind of a uniform because it's through.
It's a road.
And that's fine, that's fine. But trail network throughout Bremerton.
I think we're talking about multimodal trail.
So,
No?
I understand where you're
Different.
going with this.
yeah.
So I wonder if we can just put, okay, y'all. We're not always just talking about multimodal though, right? My vision when I was thinking about this was a walk. I go on tons of walking trails around.
Yes, and that was my vision too, and that's what people. It's different.
And it's the vision of over 60% of survey respondents.
Ooh.
Yeah, they wanted trails.
Yeah.
Well, there's some areas that
Is the
you don't
vision
have trails.
Connectivity, pedestrian connectivity, to include sidewalk, connected sidewalks and those sorts of things. Is that the intent?
So multimodal connectivity is different than a quiet space for a walking trail. Like that serves a completely different purpose, right?
Sure.
I don't go all the time on the Warren Avenue Bridge to
When
find
there's a
peace.
network, that means they're all connected. How are you gonna connect all the trails in?
Like Clear Creek Trail in Silverdale.
You just keep plugging at it, like the same way we're connecting all the bike lanes, keep plugging at it.
You know Clear Creek.
No, I
Silverdale,
understand.
right? It spans the
do.
entire,
All rural area, right next to, adjacent to.
it also crosses through the city. You can go from one end of Silverdale to the other end and all the way towards Paulsbo, but via one trail network.
Mhm.
So that's kind of, I think that's something, am I on base here with?
Also, that's why we chose throughout instead of through Bremerton, so that there were like the clunks of trails. I'm sorry, was I interrupting you? Beg pardon.
That's okay, but that's basically what I was thinking too. It's like, Forest Ridge Park, you've got all these volunteers who keep trails clear, right?
Right.
And then you've got people who are working up by the old hospital, keeping those trails clear.
Madrona, you know
So
that.
that's like, we have a network of trails. It doesn't mean they have to
Okay.
be connected.
Okay.
So
So
it's
we
like
want a
different.
larger network throughout Bremerton. More.
Who does it belong to?
Who does it belong to, Michael?
Parks.
Parks? There is no
No
parks.
such thing.
So can we just we want to
Whole
put a
council.
whole council placeholder?
Thank
What do you mean there is no such thing?
There's no
There's no committee.
council committee.
We're delegating who's going to be kind of accountable for this. For pursuing the goal for,
I think it
So
should
let's
be one
say-
of the interview questions for the new parks director.
okay, where does it belong? Does it belong in whole council or does it belong in public works?
Full council.
Okay, now we moved right along. Okay, so for your review, Anna has some suggested items, but since we have delegated the responsibility out to different places, these are for your information. So folks that are assigned to the different areas can review some of these. All right,
Yeah.
so
I'm sorry, I didn't fully understand that. You mean you want to skip this page for now?
yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so at no point do we want to discuss imposing impact fees on new development?
Not
Or
today.
other-
He just said that stuff should go to the assigned group. So if it's
There's no
assigned,
assigned group for that.
it wasn't one of our goals and priorities. These are ideas that were presented from our here's what it is,
It
y'all.
could be. Let me just give an example of this. Impose impact fees on new development. Okay, that is under increasing funds for parks or increasing funds for public works. So some of them are connected to the larger, at least some of them.
So these are wonderful ideas, and where they came from for the most part, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a large chunk of these ideas came from the raw data that you submitted for your council goals and priorities. And so there were different council goals and priorities that were sent, and it was like a 52 council goals and priorities. And so I said, please provide me with your top 3.
You're saying I gave you
I only
52?
submitted.
You didn't give me 52.
Okay.
This is the raw
Sorry.
data, right? Am I wrong? Didn't you have people's names attached to it, or are these your ideas?
The ones that are my ideas are so listed, like one says from Public Works Committee, from Jane Revelowski, The one that's mine, the 2 that are mine. are
Right.
there.
So this is just for us so that we can take this information back. These are ideas that we all generated through the raw data from the council goals
that
and
we can keep in
priorities.
mind as we
Yeah.
working on
That's right. And then you're going to come back at the next study session to bring back the information for the FAQs. You're going to have a presentation for us under general council business so we can look at the FAQs for the website and get them rolling, right?
Sure.
Cool. All right. So
I'd also like to mention that there are things here that have no fiscal impacts that have been mentioned tonight and often that are related to increased transparency. And so the reporting to, like, the commission's making a report. Yeah.
And so, And so if, does anybody have any questions on any of the items that are listed on her document? Michael?
I have no question.
Okay. So we're going to move on to we're going to move on to the Public Works Committee Chair, Jane Revelowski, to provide a summary of the highlights from the last meeting held on April 16th.
Hold on, let me find it. I took copious notes. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. So we met via Zoom on the 27th. One of the things we discussed at that time, the Washington Avenue parking in the bike lane. Public Works feels that that's strictly an enforcement issue. I have heard that they have all signed a new policy, the administration and the directors, that will allow them to purchase boots and start booting nuisance vehicles. And these are vehicles that have not only just on Washington Ave, but they're ones that are severe repeat offenders. So, which there are quite a few. And then people who are habitually parking in front of a fire hydrant on their street or something like that. So hopefully that gets rolling pretty soon. Grant awards. Oh, we got an extra 68,000 for the 6th Street preservation. It was like leftover money from KCRC. KRCC. Okay. And then we also got another 45,000 for the adaptive signals that are being put in, but the adaptive signal project appears to be over budget and design. So, and WashDOT is holding up the contract. So we may have to use all that extra money because they're late, WashDOT's late, and anyway, it's still going on. The wayfinding signage update, there's only going to be a couple signs in Charleston. The majority are in downtown, and a few in Manette. It's mostly advertising the Bridge to Bridge Trail. So this is only about 25, 30 signs, and there's no budget assigned past this year. So for more wayfinding signs, we need more money. So the 5,000 road that's in the forestry land, we got a small works contract for 330,000, and that's going to give us 1.5 miles of road, 8 culverts, and access to the dam. Is that correct?
No, it's adjacent to the dam.
Adjacent, okay.
They've installed.
Yeah,
We might get a field trip there.
And that,
Field trip to.
so that bid this week or last
Another
week?
damn field trip.
And so
I love,
so next week?
love.
Believe it went out to, so it's got like a, at least it's something really gas. Okay, I'm not positive about this.
I'll wear my orange badge.
Okay, all right. It says it's coming to council for approval in May.
Yes.
Bill gave a really good presentation on the Reservoir 17 interior coating. And that's out in the county, in the Eastwood development, but luckily they pay 1.5 times the amount that city of Bremerton residents pay for their water. The Parish Creek project, it's number 2 on the draft list. That doesn't make any sense to me.
So, it scored really high in,
On a grant list.
on the grant funding.
Yeah.
But we don't,
Oh no, I'll be right back.
we'll get formal, notification or something.
Okay,
What is that project? I'm sorry.
it's the Parish Creek project. It's, the fish project.
Is it the dam removal?
No,
Mm.
it's, Belfair Valley Road, right by the Square Dance Hall.
Okay,
It's a capacity project. Sometimes it surcharges and overflows the road. It's a fish barrier.
Thank
as
you.
well.
Gunner's been working really hard on the ranking system of projects, and utilities is pretty much done. They are working to try to get the transportation all together, but he's done a lot of really great work on that. So hopefully by next year, this time, we'll be able just to plug things in, and it'll be a lot easier for both staff and the public to see.
And not Robert, just in case.
Yeah, but it'll be easier for people to see why this project's being done instead of a different one. 11th in Washington is gonna stay closed for a good portion of the summer, including during Bridge Blast. There's gonna be pedestrian detours. They're building the traffic circle a quarter at a time. So there's gonna be multiple traffic detours, and the signal will be down, so there's gonna be some pretty good backups. And the contractor's only responsible to keep traffic moving when they're there. So when the contractor's off duty, we're gonna have a lot of backup. I mean, it's all I can say.
I've been down in that area though, a couple of times during peak hours, and I don't see a lot more congestion.
Well, people who like Chief Wolf tells me if he leaves at 3:30, it takes him 40 minutes to get out of downtown Bremerton. I don't come down here during shipyard traffic. I don't know what time the contractors usually are off. I don't know where he's going. I don't think,
Turn his lights on. Light them up.
but just anticipate
Yeah,
that there's gonna be a lot of backups then. And our police do not have the capacity to be pushing cars through intersections, so we're just gonna have to live with it. We got a little update on Snyder because when they had a change in staff between Dave leaving, Glenn coming, Glenn leaving, there's a few projects that have fallen off the list that they're trying to get back on. There's some work that I thought was going to get done last year that I think this year it's going to get done. But Tom, when do you expect the whole construction map for the cruise to be complete?
I just forwarded the construction map council, so you have it
Oh,
in your
sweet.
inbox. So it's the
Nice.
2024 includes the major sidewalk construction. The 5-year paving plan, just the list of projects, The project list is there. Where it's at right now is Colin's going through it to try to identify what makes sense to break into the individual 5 years, and we've got to vet it a little bit more before we bring it forward. There's been no progress on the 5-year sidewalk, the overall plan. So we have our new guy, Ron, starting on Monday, and he has a lot of things that he's working on, and I told him, well, I haven't told him anything yet, but I will tell him that, he has capital work that he's delivering, he's got the operations work, but he's going to be the person delivering the streetery. And personally, I see that as a higher priority than completing the sidewalk and paving.
The streetery?
The streetery policy.
It is of higher importance than the sidewalk plan?
That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's my opinion. We have sidewalk work we have laid out for the next few years with the 5-year planning document. I personally see the streetery as a higher priority. Move that forward because we're directly impacting businesses on that one. And we've had a goal to complete these sidewalk plans for some time.
Yes,
Yeah.
but they already have it in place for the next 2 years.
We do.
They know what they're gonna do for 2 years.
Yeah, and we know
So
what
the streetery, I agree, but because there's gonna be a huge uproar. Streetery that consists of a total of what, 6, 12, as opposed to a sidewalk plan that would like give people who are moving here or living
This
here.
is not a debate item right now. This is a report.
Yeah.
Can we stay on track?
Yeah, thank you, Jane.
for
Please
10 more
continue.
minutes?
Denise asked for a list of projects that were at risk if the Climate Change Act,
Climate Commitment Act.
climate commitment is
Is
lost, repealed. And Tom's already sent us an email with
Yeah.
that. So that pretty much was it.
I also know that KRCC in their meeting, I heard this, and Mary, you were probably there, and I think it was the trans poll. Anyway, they are collecting data regionally on what the projects are and what the financial impact would be if the Climate Commitment Act was repealed. So sounds like we're moving on.
So that's something I'll bring up at my district meeting.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Audit Committee Chair Anna Mockler, highlights from the meeting on April 22nd.
The landlord license compliance review is complete. There were no comments from the public. The auditor has finalized and issued the report to Andrea for her review. That will happen at some point in the next week or two. Eric and I both had serious concerns about the way the landlords are licensed, and we would like this to be an item for a full study session in the near future.
Okay.
Just starting out with Marwan's suggestion, which is that if the city is planning to require a landlord bring a place up to code, an unlicensed, maybe that's why they're not getting licensed, that the city provide a list of resources that might be available to them, KCR, BHA, et cetera. The concerns that Eric and I had about the current landlord licensing process is that there is a landlord who owns 93 properties. That landlord pays $75 a year for a licensing fee. Yep. According to Eric, the original idea when this was instituted was to have it per property. And we got briefly bogged down in should it be for each dwelling unit, like if they have more than 50. But really, this is something. And also to make sure like there's not that the parcel number is included on every one, because the auditor spent weeks doing things like where one document would say Jane and John Doe, the next would say John and Jane Doe, and having to like comb through that for duplicates, whereas parcel numbers would be a mortal lock.
So we would like to bring that to a study session in the near future as soon as Andrea has completed her review. Yeah. And, kudos to Marla.
For spotting that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this would be like an information only general council business item.
It would be, I think, an action item, like, do we want to change this?
Okay, so you have the two people to go ahead and do the research on it. And so what I would propose is that you bring it to a study session as a general council business item.
Yeah.
And then once we have the research that's been done, after that, then you need the third person. I mean, unless the third person wants to sign on now, you can't draft a resolution or an agenda bill unless you have that third person. Am I correct? So
Two.
it's 2 for research and 3 to work with legal on drafting agendas.
I don't know how law abiding those are.
Right.
Abiding.
Yeah, I mean, the rules that we made up.
They're
for
our own
ourselves.
rules. But
There are
There are our own rules. Well, I mean, if we're going to follow procedures.
I'm sure when we get to that point, somebody,
Okay.
we'll move those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's-
Okay.
Okay.
So like sometime
Well,
in May
Michael,
would
let me
be
just
great.
get some more information, please. I want to make sure from Anna that I know how urgent, like, when do you want this to be on?
It
study
would be
session.
nice to get it wrapped up. So if we can fit it in May, that would be great.
Okay, Thank
If
you.
we can't, then June, because it's not like code enforcement is
Okay.
overstaffed and hanging around.
between May and June, we'll have this as an agenda item and you and Eric will get information to present in the meantime.
That would be great.
Just
Thank
to be
you.
clear, that was not a snarky one. That was a sincere one about moving that project on. Not about
Sorry,
moving this
totally.
meeting on. That should have been 15.
No. I love you, Michael. Wait, how are the kids doing it now? They're doing like, I don't know. It's a heart.
It's like this thing you do.
I don't know. So I'm sorry, Anna, I didn't
Yeah.
interrupt you. Please continue with your.
Yeah, basically done. The next project is going to be the procurement that I spoke about. That focused on compliance with the how council, compliance of approval of contracts over 100K is working out. It's like a real auditory thing, and really hoping that our auditor doesn't have to do administrative assistant work for much more this year. And our next meeting is June 24th, so no need to there won't be an opportunity for an audit committee report in May.
Okay. Next up, Michael Goodnow from Finance Investment Objective.
We got a update about the conference center. It's going to be, it's been working on this for a long time. It just needs audio, video upgrades. I believe all the funding's coming from balance that they have. It's not general fund stuff, but it's the one interesting thing is they said that it's one of their number one complaints when they get surveyed.
Oh, yeah.
Afterwards, people are unhappy with it, and they're schlepping stuff around because I guess there was a lightning, something had happened that blew most of the AV out of the building. So they're finally getting it fixed. Yeah. So also, we're going to be seeing a little bit of a code revision. I don't want to go into too much detail with it, but do you remember when we made the change so that we could hire somebody and it gave a little more like a band and a level? We kind of omitted. There's kind of one area that needs some housekeeping to make it uniform. So for management professionals. So you'll be seeing that. Our budget analyst, what's her name, is leaving us. Yeah.
To us.
Karen's leaving us.
So she's just moving across the street.
She's going
Olympic College.
She'll be back. Anyway, so we wished her well, and yeah, we're excited for her. Then we talked about a DCIP grant application for a forced main replacement. We've just I'm trying to remember where it is right now. It's in rough shape. So anyways, there's a grant application that we're going to proceed with that. And then hearing examiner, our amazing hearing examiner that we just hired 8 months ago has been stolen and was going to the state of Washington. to do the same thing.
Ching.
So we are, but, you know, we get good talent. And then, there's a Public Works Trust Fund loan increase for the Pine Road Basin outfall. So, again, it's, you know, very low interest, and it's just, it's a situation where the water kind of is now leaking out kind of underneath it, and it's undermining it.
And where's the basin point at? The outflow?
Is it
Is it the
Sheridan
outfall?
that comes all the way down to Lebo?
Is it the
Yeah.
section that's
It's
in?
right there. Right there. Like if you were to just not stop, you're gonna go over the outfall and into the water.
Okay.
So, I think we did talk about the boat ramp.
Oh, yeah.
What was that under one of these?
Yeah, we talked about the boat ramp there because it's gonna have to come out of REAP money.
Yeah, so the Evergreen Park boat ramp is kind of washing away underneath.
Yeah.
We need to take action sooner than later so that it doesn't collapse, and then it's a whole rebuild. So they're very actively working on plans to do that. So we'll be seeing some of this in the future. More info to come.
Is that Parks that manages the boat ramp? Or is it Public Works?
Well, it's parks, but they can't.
Yeah, Public Works is gonna fix it.
Because it is about the
Okay.
funding, that's why. through the
Interesting
funding.
thing about it is the Port of Bremerton actually put that boat ramp in and then basically signed it over to us. So as far as we can tell, it's ours.
Yeah.
Now there's conversations about them helping fund and if we get some funding from them, it may not, like, we might have to do the work and kind of get reimbursed
That'd be
or
fine.
get some money back later. So anyways,
Yeah.
lots of good things in the works and trying to find the money for it all. So did I miss anything, Mike? Oh, so Mike, if you're there, so
I'm here.
I was, you know, our next meeting is immediately following Memorial Day weekend. And I wasn't sure if that was a good thing should we stick on it or do we want to look at a change?
I think the only thing with that, normally that week is fine, but there's no council on that Wednesday. So if council wanted to get away for a bit, we could move that meeting or just punt it and just have the June meeting. That's up to you.
All right. Let's, I'll talk to you about it later. So
Okay.
either.
I'm gonna be in
schedule
Maui.
Or what's up?
I'm gonna be in Maui, but
Okay.
I can always zoom in.
I think if
So the
the
fifth Wednesday.
if the agenda can support, we will just cancel that meeting.
Okay.
So I'll talk to you about it, Mike, in the next couple business days.
Sounds good.
All right. Over and out. Any regional or other committee boards to provide a brief summary on? Jeff's not here to tap first, so yes, Jane and then Anna.
Well, it wasn't really a regional thing, but
Was it a committee or a board that you were on?
it wasn't either.
Okay, can you save that for the good of the order or
Okay.
general council business? And then let's report out on our regional and committee boards first. So Anna.
So Kitsap Transit Board, really, I think I got the Kitsap Transit Board has approved in principle, and this council also approved in principle the circulator bus pilot project for First Friday. Yeah, ferry
That's good.
terminal, 6th and Callow, 6th and Pacific, 6th and Callow, 11th and Callow, 11th and Pacific, to connect those two art districts during First Friday. Everyone is truly excited about this. I am waiting to hear back from the mayor and John Clausen.
Yeah.
And again, one possible source of funding would be increasing the car tabs from 20 to 40. The reason I keep bringing this up is that this is circulator buses in general are a way to bridge the gap between like developers not wanting to build because there's no transit and transit not wanting to come because there's no development. A circulator bus bridges that gap. And I have lots more to say about this, which I won't. And I'll just email all the rest of you the email that I sent to the mayor. Is that okay?
So if it is information that's related to a potential action item, it should go to city.council and then include it in the packet related to the agenda item that we might talk about. So if you want to talk about tabs being increased, that might be a potential business item. And if you're sharing your letter, your opinion, that's where it gets a little tricky.
No, it's not opinion, it's a pitch.
But that's an opinion.
I don't think of it.
If it's from it's a fact. Very science-based.
It's a proposal. And it's a proposal that I've made with input from several members of council over the years, and also with input from Kids Up Transit Board. It's not something that I came up with on my own.
And so increasing car tabs so you can pay for a First Friday bus, is that right?
No,
Okay.
no.
I would say.
This is a
Not at
totally
all.
different item. And so that's a general council business item so that we can bring it up to see if we want to explore it further. But continue with your report on Kids Up Transit.
Yeah, that is basically what happened. We spent a great deal of time talking about a place that I've never seen. And should there be a park and ride there up in North Kitsap? And the conclusion was that we would wait and see. There was actually a great presentation by the head of maintenance. And she showed us like all of the tiny, like half container places where Kids Up Transit is doing their work. So if you guys are thinking that they are living in splendor and swanning around in barns, no. Oh, so yeah,
It wasn't until now.
yeah. Well, anyhow, that was pretty wonderful. And that was pretty much what has happened at Kids Up Transit Board.
And then,
Oh, yeah. So this is a city of Bremerton commute reduction thing. And it seems to be done by the same people who have done other surveys, because it spends lots of time saying, do you not take a bus because you're afraid of the bus? Do you not take it because you're afraid of the people? Do you not take it because you're afraid of being out alone? And at no point does it say, do you not take the bus because it only comes every hour? Nonetheless, I encourage you to take this survey and if
we got swag.
to add these details that might be of use, because this is really true. There are several members of the Kids Out Transit Board who refuse to take public transit because they are convinced that, they might run across someone who's mentally ill or who's been using drugs or has had several drinks or might be kissing too heavily.
Might run into one of us.
Oh, that's even worse. Even worse. We'll tell
That's
them
all.
what we know.
It's just to remember that the whole thing about public transit is that you can't be in your bubble. You have to be in the city, in the community. That's it.
Thank you.
But thank you for reminding me about that.
So if you want some swag, counselors,
Yeah. grab
you
the
have
survey.
to take a survey. So that's a tire cover. Anyway, we could just peruse at your leisure.
Higher.
It's a tire cover? I think so. All right, you check it out. I don't know. It could be like a giant hat. Like I could use it like a bonnet maybe at night. I don't know. Okay, any other regional or committees or boards to provide a brief summary on? Anybody going once, going twice? And now it says it's optional to open up. So I'm gonna go ahead and gavel us closed. Just kidding. Just kidding. Hold on, wait. I was joking. Much to Michael's chagrin. Let me just give you this information first, because then we'll move on to other general council business. Let me just give you this guy.
Tire cover.
It is a tire cover.
Or it's a shower cap.
So counselors, are you ready to strut the firehouse catwalk on May 1st?
Oh, did you make a speech?
I'm so sorry.
What is it, the firehouse?
We're gonna strut the catwalk of there's no catwalk at the firehouse, but our picture, you guys, we're gonna be at the firehouse for our picture.
I love it.
Why are you still laughing?
Because I just really found that hilarious.
Okay.
The tire cover as a shower cap. Somehow it just.
Okay. So thank you, Mr.
I'm
Jetty.
so sorry. How to be the dumbest.
There you go.
Ever seen.
Pretty bad.
So May 1st is our picture at the Bremerton Fire Department. Okay, 4:30. Be there or be square. And you guys, Juneteenth, y'all, I should say, Juneteenth lands on a Wednesday. And so do you prefer, okay, it says that it should automatically go to Thursday, June 20th, or do you want to cancel the council meeting? Probably not. Okay. Or we could, let's see, I thought that there was an option to do it on a Monday. So does council prefer that we go ahead? Okay, no Mondays, thank you. So then Thursday, June 20th, instead of Wednesday, the 19th will be our next, our June, instead of Juneteenth, we'll be meeting on Thursday, June 20th.
What?
Juneteenth is a federal
It's a
holiday.
holiday.
Oh,
Not a
gotcha.
city holiday.
That's our, I'm sorry,
Just skip it.
RCW 42.30.070 automatically reschedules the meeting to the following day.
Can we
We've
look at our
got-
calendar? Yeah, we've got stuff coming up, don't we?
Well, I don't want to necessarily cancel it, but do you want me to circle back to this at our next study session?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll do it at the next study session. You got it. Okay, other general council business is an opportunity to provide a briefing or brief announcement or to mention an event that might take place between now and their council report at next Wednesday's meeting. Jane.
So this event already took place, but you can still go online. Bremerton Food Line had an amazing meeting yesterday. There were several businesses that sponsored it, so they paid for everybody's breakfast who attended. This was at the conference center. And then the presentation brought tears to my eyes, you know, and there were several speakers, and we got an email at the end of the day, raised $75,000, which exceeded all their expectations in an hour and a half long meeting. So that was pretty great. They serve law. They've come up with new ideas on how to engage the community more. They're going to have something, I think they're calling them neighborhood captains, where you can volunteer to let your neighbors know what they're short of. Like it might be, hey, we're really short on rice this week. And then you go around and tell your neighbors, or, you know, we're short on peanut butter. But anyway, it's a way to get more volunteers and more people to be aware of what Bremerton Food Line does for our community, because it's a lot.
Mayor was in the video.
Yes, yes, you were.
He and Sons.
You were in person and in video.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really inspiring.
Any other general council business? Anna?
I'd like to see more of an expression of surprise, Jennifer.
There is no surprise. Anna
Okay.
always has something for general business.
Well, I do. So the Commission on Council Salaries is meeting May 2nd and 7th. In a recent time when this was meeting, staff wrote up a description of the council president duties, which is one reason that the council president duties were raised significantly. I would like to ask staff to write up something similar for the other 6 people who also work really hard, and get that to the commission before they meet. What say you?
Who was the one that requested that the council president description be made?
The council president.
Okay. Okay,
Do they have a copy of our job description?
isn't it our roles and responsibilities, the general counsel?
Well, the council president does like about 25% more than we.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so it really would be winnowing more than like writing a whole new description.
Yeah.
But right now,
But
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, what I found interesting is that Bainbridge Island gave their council an increase so that this committee threw them out of our comps.
Right. That
Say
is
that again?
interesting as well.
Bainbridge Island gave their council a pretty significant increase in what they get paid.
Oh, yeah.
And then this council that reviews our salaries used to use Bainbridge Island as a comp. And then they threw it out as like ridiculous.
Because they increased it so much.
Yeah.
I'm of the mindset that this is me personally, not council president speaking, okay? So you're asking. I kind of learned a while back that it might be a good idea just to kind of like hang back. And that's because this is a commission that is supposed to be kind of not influenced by us.
Oh, yeah.
On salaries.
Totally.
I feel like we already have our roles and responsibilities listed in our rules and procedures in a sentence. Am I wrong about that?
It's the council president is very specific, and it was developed specifically to get higher weekly pay, higher monthly pay for the council president. And I think that given that,
Who created that?
the then council president and Lori,
I don't know that it was expressly to get more money.
That's
I
what
think
Lori-
it was to
that's what Lori said.
Could have been.
hopefully illuminate what.
No, it was what Lori said.
So do you want to be paid more?
I would like the
Basically,
commission
right?
to look at what we do. I myself am totally okay with what I get paid. I'm thinking about the future in which like people who would be attracted to working on council, because these increases don't kick in for years. It is my recollection.
So
But
can
that they would be able to see a way to work, participate in government and raise a family.
So what you're doing is you're asking if there's anybody else that would like to support you and work with you to get more information on that, or you just want to do it on your own?
Neither of those
I
things.
think there's an important message that Lori just put up on the screen.
Oh, good.
If you guys would like to read it, because I think she specifically indicated that the commission had asked for that.
Okay.
Thank you, Lori.
I don't have.
Bring up the, like comment or chat or.
Okay.
Can you show it to the rest of us?
Oh, I thought it was public. I'm sorry.
No, I know.
It says we provide information if the commission asks for it. Yes, the duties of the president was provided to support a higher stipend for the council president who was not receiving one at the time.
Oh,
This was during the term of Carol Aarons. Oh, the last woman before me that was president, by the way, 20 years ago. So it was asked 20 years ago.
A mere 20 years.
So if the commission asks for it, then I feel like that's when we should provide it.
Did the commission ask for the council president one?
What I'm saying is I don't feel that this is necessary because I feel like if the commission wants it, they'll ask for it. That's where I'm at right now.
Can we just ask Lori if the commission asked for it last time?
Sure. Yes. The commission asked for it last time.
They asked for the council president duties?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you-
Now we can. This is
Okay,
better.
sorry.
Hi, Lori.
Much better. Thank you.
Hi. So yeah, that was a long time ago. So I'm trying to remember the exact details, but yes, the council president was not receiving anything extra, and the duties were increasing more and more. And so we sat down together and thought of everything we could think of to put on that list. And now that list has kind of, lived ever since, but it was developed to support a stipend for the council president at that time. The commission through the years has come to us and asked us questions or asked us for information, and we always share a ton of information. We show all of the, and now we even keep a running tally of council meetings, study sessions, executive sessions, budget workshops, retreats, all of the committee meetings. We show them all of the outside, we call them outside events when they're outside of, city, like ribbon cuttings and work conferences. I mean, the list just goes on. And we have shared that in the past. I don't know what the rule is. I don't know if we can provide that without them asking, or if we have to wait for them to ask. So that might be a question for legal or Charlotte.
how do they make judgments on a salary without an updated job description, or without, they've got a
There
job.
is no job, there's no job description for council members. You're
no
elected
job
officials and the focus is budget and policy. So all
Yeah.
those other
And did-
details, we have to share those.
They
And it's just
probably-
up to the people.
Lori, do they do a wage study? Because Michael mentioned that they threw out the stipend, the Bainbridge Island as a metric. Do they do a wage study, like
Oh, I
comparable?
see, I
to
don't
other-
know. You might have
Okay.
to, maybe you could meet with,
Here's
I think
what
it's Charlotte, who's
Okay,
the staff for that committee.
so I just personally feel like it's inappropriate for us to meddle.
That's why we've
Um,
never just kind of offered anything, but they know where we
Should we
are, they know
unionize?
where to find
Oh,
us.
that's
They-
it, Lori. We're unionizing here.
Can I?
Oh,
propose
okay.
a-
It's been about 10 minutes since we've been on the subject.
Yeah,
and
I'd like to
so-
propose a compromise, which is we do not provide it to the commission. We do, however, post it on our website. That's it.
So does anybody else want to move forward on this item right now that's here?
Well, if we're gonna discuss it, I mean, if we're gonna move forward, I want to discuss it more.
So,
So here's my thing. I think every single council person does their job differently.
Exactly.
I go out for coffee with all sorts of characters. And, you know, I have a regular town hall meeting. I do other volunteer work with my community members in support of the city. And I'm not saying I do more than anybody, far from it, but I think we all do things differently. So I don't know how you could capture that in one job description.
I also want
Because
to,
it's not,
go ahead.
it's not required. So we are required to attend meetings and
Okay.
make decisions. And, you know, and you're right, we all do it in different ways, depending on whether we work full-time or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, just whatever you're
And-
comfortable with.
And you would hope that there's some kind of a mechanism that council on salaries or whatever would use, you know?
And I'll give you my feedback. I'm paid to work part-time, okay? And I know there's been counselors in the past who have worked way less and gone to, done less meetings and so on, but
Left through me.
That's
what apparently,
Yeah.
I consider this a job, okay?
Mhm.
And I don't get paid enough to to work full-time at this job.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a part-time job. And at the bare minimum, us going to these meetings and so on, I mean, when I take it and the time that's spent, the way that we connect with our community, we're paid for part-time work.
Mhm.
So, it would, go right.
I'm sorry if you're done.
Nope, I'm done.
I guess, I think we have no say in this basically.
Mhm.
But the thing, because somebody kind of touched on this at the beginning, the thing about it, and this is for the citizens to decide, but if they keep it at a rate that only like a
Retirees.
retiree or
Yes.
somebody who has the right kind of job, like it
Yes.
really limits the type of people who will serve in this. So.
Yes.
Well, this is literally half my salary, y'all. I'm just saying that's legitimate. This is half my salary, and that's why I take this job very seriously in the way that I do it.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't feel like I want to meddle with their business. So I just want us to know if
I think
there's,
it's pretty clear that we can't.
yeah, we really can't.
I would like to post it on our website. That would be something useful.
With job description?
Well, it's the duties and responsibilities of the council president, the duties and the responsibilities of the council.
I think if you brought that up outside of this conversation, it would be fine. But,
Okay.
But we've created a link
To the
this. and I
salaries.
think,
All right, so let's talk about it after the commission has met. How's that? After it's all done.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do they meet once a year?
Once every 2 years, I don't know.
Mm.
But anyhow, their last meeting is May 7th. So if we do it after that, then there's no quid pro quo. Okay, I got one more. Ready?
So you have taken 15 minutes for general council business. That's supposed to be just for brief announcements and any events that are coming up. So
Yeah.
if you have some new business that you'd like to
I do.
present, I would suggest that we wait till the next study session unless it's urgent, because I just want to let,
Let's go home.
we want to go, it's not that we want to just go home.
It's 8.
It's that this is a time for brief announcements and events coming up. And I want you to have your space for new ideas. But also we've been spending about 15 minutes processing this other one.
Yeah, why are we paying for GARE?
Are we paying for what?
GARE.
Okay, Brett, we do use GARE for different things. I think, and so GARE is being used at administrative levels.
I was wondering why council is paying for it.
Oh, why is council paying for it? That's a good question.
Because we agreed to.
We
It's our
agreed to
idea.
last year.
Because we had.
It was like $1,000 or $1,500 or something. But that's a fair point, Mayor. If GARE is not being used by council in the same way because it's now a REACT commission.
There's training on it, so we use it to get up to date on it.
I think the question is, should the administration just pay for it, or should it be in the council's budget?
Maybe.
Well, if you want, it seems weird that we're ordering it twice.
So we have a double membership.
Yeah, you have access.
What?
Yeah. We do, right?
Oh, I thought it was under just one account.
Okay. So Lori is listening. She'll follow up on that. Okay. Friends.
Council President, before we make a final decision, let's check out and see what a membership actually looks like.
Yeah,
I think you should be able to access the GARE
through the city that y'all do. So, okay. I wondered why. Okay.
I know.
I still use it. I still go on and check out things, and I've taken a few.
I get stuff from them and
Yeah. Okay. Announce that the next council meeting will be on May 1st, Wednesday, May 1st, beginning at 5:30 on the first floor meeting chambers with a remote option available by Zoom. The public is welcome to attend in person or remotely, and any special accommodations may be requested by calling city clerk at 360-473-5323 at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. We will, of course, be meeting here at 5 o'clock for the council briefing. This meeting is adjourned. Okay.